Welcome back to the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast for another year. I cannot believe it is 2025. I hope you had an amazing holiday season and had some good family time, some friends time. You ate, you rested, you were merry, you did some training, you did all the things that you wanted to do over the silly season and are ready to bring in the new year strong. I'm your host, Taryn. I'm an advanced sports dietitian with now decades of experience working with age group triathletes to level up their performance with the power of nutrition. I had a great Christmas break. We did some family time interstate. We had some beach time. We did lots of chill time, which is very much needed, but a little bit of work in there as well because I am preparing to open Triathlon Nutrition Academy doors for the first time this year. And there is a lot of work that goes into that. A lot of behind the scenes that you probably have no idea about. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to give a massive shout out to the legends who have supported the podcast so far at the back end of 2024. I will give a shout out to all of you in a few episodes' time, but I just wanted to make special mention to Beppo, one of our UK athletes who has donated and supported the podcast. Thank you so much, legend. But he left me a message that said, keep the broadcast free and regular, which is the goal. And it's the entire purpose of starting the Support the Podcast campaign to keep it ad-free, which I would love to do. So help me do that by going to dietitianapproved.com/legend and show me your support to keep the podcast going ad-free for as long as we can. All right, let's kick off 2025 with a little bit of goal setting and maybe some New Year's resolutions, but guidance from your sports dietitian. I'm not about waffly resolutions that are maybe too big and too large and things that you're never going to stick to and things that will be dropped by the time February rolls around. I'm here to help you with actionable, nutrition-focused goals that are designed specifically for triathletes just like you. So whether you're targeting a new PR this year or you're tackling your first longer distance event, something longer than you've ever done before, or you're just looking to feel more energized with training and day-to-day life, I've got some ideas to help set your year up for success, not failure. Plus, I want to share some ideas to help turn these goals into reality and things that last for a lifetime and habits that you can do forevermore. Not just go guns blazing at the start of the year because you've had a debaucherous Christmas and feel like you need to go so hard right now to bring yourself back on track. I think that is just set up to help you fail, basically. That is my no BS approach at its finest. I'm going to give it to you straight. Now, if you're looking for more resources in this space, so you're listening today or you've been searching for podcasts to help set you up for the year, I've got 2 past episodes that would be great to dive back into the archives for and listen to if you're interested. Episode 75, Triathlon Diets Not to Do This New Year and What You Should Be Doing Instead, which was from January 2023. And episode 21, Why You Need to Ditch the Detox. From an evidence-based perspective, please don't detox. They're full of shit. It's not doing anything other than starving you and pulling out all your glycogen stores, and they're not actually a great way to kickstart your health. So that episode is from January 2022. I love to start the year with an episode along these lines because I find it is a time where, one, people are receptive to nutrition information, but also it's where we start doing weird things with our nutrition and our training to punish ourselves from a few weeks of maybe not training much or eating too much or drinking too much. What I would love for you to do is listen today and take on board what I have to say so that we can move forwards and move into the new year in a nice place, not in a place of punishment. So grab your swimmers and let's dive in. To kick us off, I want to talk about why nutrition goals matter. Because when that new year rolls around, as a triathlete, we often set goals that are things like running our 10 kilometers faster, or qualifying for, that big race that we've been trying to qualify for forever, or nailing your swim technique so that you can shave 8 minutes off your Sunny Coast 70.3 time this year. But here's the thing, Even the best training plan can fall short if your nutrition is not dialed in. Training without the right nutrition is really just like trying to drive a car with no fuel or the wrong fuel. It's a petrol car and you've put diesel in it or something like that. Or you haven't charged your electric vehicle overnight. The two definitely go hand in hand. And I always talk about the sweet spot where our training and our nutrition intersect as the supercharged zone. That when you get those two things right, that's when you feel supercharged. You feel the energy right through the back end of those long sessions when usually you'd be failing or dragging your ass home or calling a sag wagon to pick you up from your long ride because you can't make it back. You know, it comes to the end of your training week and you're no longer feeling shattered and unsure how you're going to get through those bigger, longer endurance sessions. Maybe you got a 6-hour ride planned and you're like, oh my God, I'm wrecked already. How am I even going to do that? When you get your training and your nutrition right, particularly through a busy work week, then you will reap the rewards of that over the weekend long sessions or through those really high quality hard sessions where we need it the most. So setting clear, actionable nutrition goals is just as important as setting your training goals and your racing goals. Nutrition fuels your body for those tough sessions, it speeds up your recovery, and ultimately, it determines how you will perform on race day because it is what you do day in, day out that sets that race up for success. It's not your one race nutrition plan that you implement on the day. While that's important and we need that, it is about the things that you're doing day in, day out that will have the biggest impact. And setting the right goals can make your training feel easier. It helps you to avoid injuries and getting sick, and it will give you the edge that you're probably looking for at this time of the year. So if you're serious about smashing some goals this year, new PR, then let's take a look at your nutrition strategy and get serious about what is on your plate. And today I'm going to guide you through some really powerful nutrition goals to help you train harder, recover faster, and perform at your best. So let's get into the 5 key nutrition goals that I think every triathlete should consider this year. They aren't just, nice to haves and maybe laters. They're actually game-changing strategies that are going to elevate and level up your training and racing. So what I want you to do is pick 1, maybe 2 to start with, and build from there. So you've got these small, consistent steps because that's what is going to lead to big changes over time. Think about the theory of compound interest. It's those small little things that compound daily over time that eventuate into something massive. So put your seatbelt on, slow down a little bit, and avoid that big guns blazing, all or none type mentality that you might have right now, like cutting out too much food and going on a really strict calorie deficit. Doing a detox, please don't do a detox. Avoid. You have a liver and you have kidneys that detoxify your body for you without you needing to go on some weird juice cleanse to punish yourself because you just binge drank for the last 3 weeks. If you do anything too hard too fast, then you will have given up by February. This month now is where all of the injuries occur and people get sick often because you've done something too drastic. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, I'm not saying do nothing. We're going to set you up for success today, but you need to be much more patient and consistent with your changes rather than doing anything too catastrophic. So goal number 1 that I think everyone should have eventually, but something that I would consider first, is nailing your pre and post-training nutrition. You need to get consistent around what you do before and after all of your training sessions. It's one of the simplest ways to boost your performance, and recovery, if you don't have that dialed in, is an absolute game changer. I've not met one athlete that hasn't felt something more amazing than they currently feel by getting their recovery nutrition right. Depends on what end of the spectrum you are at present, whether you're doing a not bad job or you're not doing recovery particularly well at all. So pre-training, we have different strategies that we can lean on here, but we want to focus primarily on carbohydrate for energy. So think, toast with some spread or a banana or something like that. You would have different options for your pre-training nutrition depending on the type of session. It's not a set and forget pre-training strategy. We want to pull different levers and dial in what we're doing for our swimming, for our riding, for our running, and in particular the types of sessions that they are. So we're not doing the same thing all the time. Recovery nutrition after training, we need to make sure we are doing our 4 R's of recovery. And if you don't know what they are yet, then go all the way back to the archives and listen to episode 4 of the podcast, where I talked about not ditching your recovery. Making recovery and pre-training nutrition a habit is going to pay dividends with your energy levels and your recovery time too. So if you only make one change this year or have one nutrition goal focus, nailing your pre and post-session nutrition should be it. There is a reason that we cover both of these topics right in the beginning of the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. We do recovery nutrition first and then pre-training nutrition in week 2, because it is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck out of what you're doing with your overall nutrition plan. Number 2 is to stop winging it, stop guessing, and actually assess what's on your plate in terms of the quality and the timing. So if you can measure it, you can manage it. And it's hard to improve on your nutrition if you're not actually aware of what you're doing and what maybe your shortcomings are or where you have room for improvement. Instead of counting calories, I don't necessarily think that's a particularly useful strategy for triathletes. And I did a whole podcast episode on that too, if you want to go and listen. I know that there are people that love to count calories and it really works for them and it doesn't do weird things to their mind. And that's totally fine. We work with those inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program as well. And I like to set them up with the right calorie targets. But I don't think you need to count calories necessarily. But I think you need to set a goal to assess the quality and the timing of your meals and your snacks when you train for 3 sports in a week. One of the biggest mistakes I see triathletes make is just eating the same thing all the time. You know, you have the same breakfast, maybe you have the same lunch kind of meal, you have the same snacks. Dinner generally has a bit of variety depending on what's going on in your house, but it's just eating the same way day in, day out and not having any purpose to how you fuel your high performance machine. So what I want you to do for this one is start by writing down what you eat for a couple of days. You don't have to track calories, but start to notice some of the patterns that you do around your nutrition. Are you skipping any meals, and why is that happening? Are you relying on convenience foods at maybe particular times of days, or maybe when it gets really busy, that's something that you really lean on? Are you missing your key recovery windows? Write down everything that you're doing because, well, to a trained eye like mine, I can look at somebody's whole week's plan and go, oh man, there's the reason why you had a problem 3 days down the track. You know, to a trained eye, it's really easy to assess that. But for you, just writing it down so that you're aware of it is a way to start to see some things yourself, because you might be like, oh man, I completely missed lunch that day. Now, that doesn't happen for everyone, but there are people that forget to eat. Or, man, I felt really tired on this day, and see if that's a consistent pattern next week, because it might have something to do with how you're actually eating to support the training session on that day, the day before that. It's all one big melting pot, and it's not just that day as a silo. So in the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, I love to teach my athletes how to analyze their intake, like quality, timing, calories, macro and micronutrients. But ultimately, you need to be able to adjust that for your training load. And periodization is a key concept for triathlon that you need to be across if you want to have longevity in the sport, so that you're fueling your body much more strategically and you're not eating to just fill a hole because you're starving all the time. So tracking is the first step to taking control of your nutrition. Now, it's not something you need to do for a long time. Even just a couple of days sometimes can be enough for you to go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was doing that. Goal number 3. And this is another great one that is going to set you up for success long term, and that's to plan ahead like a pro. As triathletes, we juggle a lot, work, training, family, all the things. And I don't know about you, but I'm not very good at juggling. And nutrition is often the ball that we drop. If life gets busy, life throws you a curveball. Nutrition is hands down the first thing that people generally drop because they haven't planned ahead and gotten themselves organized for whatever curveballs you get thrown. When nutrition gets pushed aside, or you haven't looked after future you and got a plan ahead, then we will make poorer food choices and we're going to skip meals. We're going to buy out more. We're just going to quickly grab some snacks and shove them in our face because we're starving and we're hungry and we don't have time. Nutrition falls apart when life gets busy, and we need to set ourselves up in a way so that that doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen as often. So 2025, I want you to draw a line in the sand, and this is the year that you're going to look after future you. So make yourself a date in your diary or your calendar and make it a habit to plan your meals and your snacks and your whole family's life's logistics for the week. Spend like 30 minutes on the weekend, have a quick family meeting and map it all out. What nights is, training on in the evenings? What nights do you have to do the school run? What nights have you got, your kids' basketball training and you don't have time to cook? So you don't want to get home from something late and go, man, what is for dinner? Because you're more likely to just go through a McDonald's drive-through on the way home, and that's not a great choice. There are so many strategies that you could do for a night that is busy and you're out and about and nobody's home cooking. You want to also avoid missing that recovery window for dinner if you've got training at night. So spend 10 minutes, spend 20, 30 minutes. It shouldn't take you too long to map out all of your meals, do your snacks, do your pre-training and your recovery nutrition if you can, so that you have a plan moving forwards. If you have time, and I would encourage you to do at least some small amount of prep, but prep some nutrient-rich things that you can have in the fridge, have in the pantry ready to go for those times where shit hits a fan and you've got nothing to eat. You can lean on that so that you can eat well despite the utter chaos. So think things like big trays of roast veggies and maybe grill up some meat or use canned tuna, canned salmon, those sorts of things as a protein source. Boil up some eggs to keep them in the fridge for the week. Organize some Bircher muesli. There's some great recipes in our recipe database for Bircher muesli. If you don't know what that is, it's like a muesli soaked overnight in various liquids. And it is super delicious and it keeps in the fridge pretty well for the entire week. I love that one, particularly in the summer months, but it's a great do it once, set and forget, and then you've got a really nutrient-rich breakfast to have on the go. I also love having a batch of my savory muffins, either in the fridge if they're fresh or having a supply in the freezer too, because they pack a great little nutrient punch. Each savory muffin has one vegetable serve in it and it's delicious, and it is much more satisfying than, grabbing a muesli bar and it's gone in 2 bites. So you can get that recipe for that in my free recipes by going to dietitianapproved.com/recipes, and you can also check out the recipe database from that page as well. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So I want to set you up for success. Look after future you. I look after future Taryn all the time. My life is utter chaos, but as a dietitian, food is one of my highest values, and I do everything I can to make sure we have healthy, nutritious, and delicious food in the house ready to go. And I'm not scrambling in like the 5 minutes I have to shovel some lunch. I have it already ready to go that I can easily piece stuff together. You have to do what works for you, and the strategies that work for me and my family might not be that useful for you, but I want you to start to get a bit more organized this year. Inside the Academy, I can show you how to build your plate specifically for you to tailor it to your training schedule, your training load, and your personal preferences, plus all of those strategies that I can help with as a dietitian to make sure that your food story is working for you and your household. And that is the power of being able to talk to me every week in our Power Hour sessions. I can understand about you and your little individual nuances, your preferences, how your training week works, all the things that you love to eat, and help you with some strategies that you can implement straight away to get your shit together with nutrition. Goal number 4 is to level up your hydration game. We know that dehydration kills performance. Even in the cooler months, if you're in the depths of winter right now, you're like, whatever, Taryn, as I sit here sweating in the height of summer. But make it a goal this year to dial in your hydration because it is very individual and it's not a set and forget number. You need to actually understand what is going on for you and your sweaty needs. So many issues I find can be rectified by getting your hydration right. So I want you to make it a goal this year that you do work on your hydration. And you can start by monitoring and understanding your sweat rate during training. And we have a sexy spreadsheet in the Academy program to help you do that really easily. You don't need to be good at spreadsheets. You definitely don't need to be good at maths, but it does all the heavy lifting for you and it can help show you those trends and the data over time too, so that you can see what is going on for your hydration specifically. The other thing to think about is electrolytes and whether you need those as part of your plan or not, because I'm seeing this huge shift in everyone smashing salt tablets and having no idea why they're doing that or how much they actually need. So I think it's really important that you understand your sweat needs because there is so much we can get right there and there's also so much we can get wrong. Small little tweaks in your hydration plan can lead to big improvements in your energy levels and also your endurance because you're not fatigued, you're not dehydrated, your body is working properly if it's hydrated because we are on average about 60% water. But not many people, if I ask them, can answer me back when I say, what is your sweat rate for this? What is your sweat rate for that? People are like, I don't know. So I think this goal is very easy to implement and also to make a noticeable difference if that's something that you want to work on this year. All right, our fifth and our final goal for this episode is to test your race day nutrition and test it early. I think this is another cracker that you maybe have not thought about or you haven't thought about with enough time. But if you're racing this year, now is the time to start testing your race nutrition strategy. And ideally, we want to be doing that months before your race, not going, oh, far out, I got an Ironman in 2 weeks and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do for my race nutrition yet. I don't want to hear that ever again. I'm going to cancel that for 2025. Don't leave your race nutrition to chance. We don't want to be winging it. You want to practice with all of the products that you're going to use on the day, whether that's gels or chews or drinks, whatever it is. Do that in training and figure out what works for you and make sure your plan is very well practiced and very well rehearsed. You want to aim for a certain amount of carbohydrate per hour in your race, and obviously you want to practice that in training. Whatever products you are going to race with, practice that in training. I hear of quite a number of people actually that race on something different to what they train with, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, I get sports nutrition products can be quite expensive, and so there is other cheaper ways that you can use them or make your own. But whatever you want to race with on the day, practice in training. I love helping athletes build a personalized race nutrition plan. It's something that we focus on very heavily in the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program and also in the back of that in our alumni program. Every week we are going through somebody's race nutrition plan with a fine-tooth comb because I want you to show up on race day with so much confidence that no stone has been left unturned. There are no surprises. And hey, there's still likely to be some surprises on race day. There always is. But you are confident that everything is not new. And that is really important. So there are my 5 nutrition goals to help you set maybe a new PR this year. So nailing your pre and post training nutrition, actually assessing and getting a handle on the quality and timing of your nutrition intake. Like, how good is it? Do you know? Do you know what gaps you have and what is missing? And do you then, I guess, know how to fix that? Plan ahead like a pro and look after future you. Leveling up your hydration game. This one's a big one. And testing your race day nutrition strategies as early as you can. So pick one of those and we're going to work with it. But what I want you to do is turn those goals into habits. It's not something that we just do for January and we move on. This is something that I want you to do day in, day out, and be super consistent with it so that you are still doing these things once we hit Feb and into March and April. So setting easy goals that you can continue for a long time. So they're not about overhauling your nutrition overnight. Okay, I don't want you to pick all 5 of them and be like, right, tomorrow's the day and I'm going to do everything, because I know you and you're an overachiever just like me, but you want to aim high, and that's awesome. But I want you to focus on small, consistent changes over time, because that is where you'll see the results. So here's some tips for how to make those habits actually stick. Number 1, as I just said, start small. Pick one thing and focus on it for the next month until it becomes habitual, until it becomes a daily thing. And you don't even have to think about it anymore. It just becomes a no-brainer. And then you can move on to the second one. Number 2, track your progress, whether that is keeping a handwritten journal or use an app or an accountability buddy to stay accountable to the things that you've set for yourself. Say it out loud to somebody. Say it out loud to your partner, your training buddy, somebody that can check in on you and be like, hey, how you going with that thing? Having a coach, having a dietitian, and having a community can make all the difference when it comes to staying on track and being accountable. That's why I created the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. It is a step-by-step program that helps triathletes like you take all of the guesswork out of your nutrition. We have live nutrition coaching most weeks with me. We have so many tools and resources to make this process easy. And the best part is a community of like-minded triathletes just like you who you can fail forwards with together. So you have everything that you need to turn these New Year's goals into lifelong habits. All right, so let's wrap up with some actionable steps so that we can actually do something. We're not just sitting passively listening. We're actually going to go forth and we're going to prosper. So I want you firstly to write down 1 or 2 of those goals that resonated with you that you do want to work on. Pick one, take one immediate action. And that is maybe starting to write down your food today, everything you've eaten so far. It could be planning your post-training recovery nutrition for your next session. Or hey, shameless plug, it could be going to dietitianapproved.com/academy and joining the waitlist for our January opening, which is coming around very quickly. And thirdly, I want you to reflect on what is actually holding you back from nailing your nutrition. What is going on? Is it just you need to get out of your own way? Is it time? How can you carve out some time in your week to do some planning and organization and get sorted when it comes to your nutrition? And commit to making a change. Doesn't have to be big, just small, tiny little steps compounded over time can have a huge impact. So don't forget that the Academy doors do open this month. Doors are opening on the 20th of Jan until the 27th, with our first cohort of the year starting on the 25th of January. So excited. So if you're ready to actually make 2025 the year that you start kicking some goals and kick it off with a bang, then make sure you do join the waitlist today, because I'm going to be sending some exclusive bonuses to those on the waitlist. And when you do register, I've given you a $50 discount for my Triathlon Nutrition Kickstart course, which is a great thing to do right now instead of doing some weird detox thing or weird diet to punish yourself. Go and do yourself a favor and take the Triathlon Nutrition Kickstart course so that you're ready to get started when the Academy starts on the 20th. All right, legend, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome back for a year. We've got some pretty cool things planned in the pipeline for 2025. If you found this episode helpful, or you know somebody that needs to listen to some good nutrition nuggets in their ear holes, send this podcast their direction, whether that's a triathlete friend or somebody in your training program. It really helps the podcast reach as many ears as possible and more athletes like you that would benefit from better nutrition. So here's to a strong start to 2025. I'm excited. Stay well hydrated, stay fueled, my friend, and don't do anything weird with your nutrition over the next couple of weeks, please. Do not punish yourself from the debauchery that just happened. Draw the line in the sand, moving on. It's a fresh year. We can do this. I will catch you next week for another episode of the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast.